My wife insisted that my first love attend our wedding. Halfway through the ceremony, she suddenly asked to pause it for 3 minutes. Then, she turned around and pulled her first love, Henry, who was dressed in a suit, up from the audience, right in front of all the guests. They held hands and walked down the red carpet. I promised him I would walk down the wedding aisle with him once, she said. With red eyes, Henry hugged my wife and said to my father-in-law and mother-in-law, Dad, Mom, although I don't have the chance to be your son-in-law in this life, I still want to call you Mom and Dad. After saying that, he kissed my wife passionately, and they couldn't bear to part. There was an uproar among the guests, and everyone was whispering, waiting to see my reaction. However, I smiled, walked forward, took off the boutonniere on my chest, and put it on him. How can there be no chance when you love this woman so much? I'll give her to you now. Because of my words, Henry fainted onto Mia's body right there, but his hands were still tightly around Mia's shoulders, refusing to let go. Without hesitation, she immediately supported Henry and left, rushing to the hospital in a hurry. Before leaving, she didn't forget to scold me in public for being inconsiderate and narrow-minded. She said that I couldn't even tolerate these mere 3 minutes and that I deliberately wanted to ruin the wedding. I had been with my wife for 10 years, and my father-in-law and mother-in-law finally agreed to hold the wedding because my wife was pregnant. Until 10 minutes ago, I still firmly believed that a woman would settle down after getting married, and I would have a happy family. But now, my mother thought I was embarrassing, swept the food on the table onto my face, and cried, asking me to chase after the bride who had left. My father also looked at me with disappointment through the boutonniere I had put on his chest, which fell to the ground and was crushed. My mother-in-law, who had always looked down on me, had an even more gloomy face. She said in front of everyone that I was not presentable and had no manners. She pinched my arm and said in a sinister tone, if you want to marry into Aria's family, you must learn to listen to your wife. Even if you are wronged, you must swallow it. Since you've ruined this wedding, don't even think about having another one in the future. Looking at my mother-in-law's ferocious expression, I finally realized that true love couldn't be exchanged for true love. After 10 years, I don't want to be the son-in-law of the Mia family anymore. Before I could speak, she grabbed my hand and pushed me out of the auditorium. Don't come back until you've retrieved Mia. I turned around and looked. The door of the auditorium had been firmly closed. In front of me was a sudden downpour of rain, and behind me was the lively auditorium. Although I was wearing a groom's suit, I felt as if I had been abandoned by the whole world. Before the tears could fall, the door opened again. My parents came up to me. The moment I saw them, the grievances in my heart immediately burst out. Holding back my voice, I softly called out, Mom, just like when I was a child. But the next second, my mother's face turned ugly. I'm not your mother. I've already told you not to be temperamental. Now look, Mia has been driven away by you, and the wedding has been ruined by you. How are your father and I supposed to face others in the future? The cold words turned into sharp swords, stabbing at my heart again and again. Quickly, listen to your mother-in-law and go after Mia. If she doesn't want you anymore, I don't know what you'll do in the future. My parents didn't say anything more. They turned around and went back to the hall, and the heavy door closed again. I stood there, and the tears finally fell. The wedding was held in a villa in the suburbs, and there was no signal to call a taxi. I had to hold an umbrella and walk out in the heavy rain. The heavy rain soaked my suit, and the white suit was stained with mud, turning into a disgusting grayish-black color, just like my so-called love. I don't know how long I walked, and the clothes soaked in rain became even heavier. Looking at my bloodied heels, I smiled self-deprecatingly. What a perfect wedding. Just as I was thinking, my phone got a signal, and more than a dozen messages from Mia popped up. Julian, do you just not want me to be happy? I've already explained that Henry is just my brother. Why do you have to be jealous at the wedding? Every word was a question to me, with not a single word of concern or apology. I didn't want to pay attention to her. Just as I was about to put my phone away, I received a strange call. It was Henrik's voice. Mia, how could you just leave brother Julian like this? He'll be heartbroken. After all, he's also the father of your child. But Mia just replied gently, Henry, you're just too kind. Getting me pregnant was just his means to marry into the MO family. How can he compare with you? The phone fell to the ground with a dull thud. Yes, how could I compare with Henry? One night, 2 months ago, Mia received a text message in the middle of the night and suddenly wanted to go out. I was worried that it wasn't safe for a pregnant woman like her to go out in the middle of the night, so I offered to go with her. Mia's face immediately changed, and she coldly rebuked me, Julian, who do you think you are? What right do you have to control me? After saying that, she pushed me. I lost my balance and rolled down the stairs, breaking my arm. The intense pain made me break out in cold sweat. I quickly called out to Mia, who was about to go out, and begged her to call an ambulance for me. But she just looked at me impatiently. Julian, do you have no hands or no feet? Can't you call an ambulance yourself? I'm in a hurry, so don't bother me. When the ambulance arrived, I was in so much pain that I fainted, and my arm almost couldn't recover. After that, I stayed in the hospital for a whole month, and Mia never showed up once. It was only yesterday that I found out that she was in a hurry to go out that day because Henry said he was afraid of thunder, and she had to accompany him. Thinking of this, my hand holding the umbrella kept tightening, almost breaking the handle. I finally managed to walk down the mountain and hailed a taxi. Then Mia's call came. Julian, Henry's anxiety disorder has flared up again because of you. Hurry up and come here to apologize. I awkwardly held the umbrella that was almost blown away by the strong wind and explained that I was still in the villa area. Suddenly, huge hailstones fell from the sky, hitting the ground with dull thuds. When Mia heard the sound, her tone became nervous. It's hailing. Didn't you stay at the hotel? I'll now halfway through. I heard Henry's crying. Mia, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have come back. I might as well have just died outside. Mia immediately put down the phone and gently comforted him. When she came back, she regained her usual coldness. Julian, I'll give you half an hour. Come to the hospital and apologize immediately. The cold voice made me shiver and also dispelled the last bit of my attachment to Mia. I'm not the one who should apologize, Mia. Let's get a divorce. The voice on the other end of the phone froze for a moment and soon turned into mockery. Everyone in the city knows that you, Julian, are determined to climb up the Moo family through me. Without me, who else would take a fancy to a gigolo like you? The umbrella in my hand finally couldn't bear the weight and fell to the ground. I stood up and let the cold wind and hailstones hit my body, but my mind became clearer and clearer. I hung up the phone, and the taxi I hailed also arrived. The next second, a truck crashed towards me from not far away. In a blur, I heard a lot of voices, the screams of passers-by, the sirens of the ambulance, the shouts of the doctors, and the anxious voice of the nurse. Hello, are you Julian's family member? He's in the hospital now. Mia snorted coldly and interrupted the nurse. He's in the hospital? Then why isn't he coming here quickly? Tell him that this time he must kneel down and apologize to Henry, or don't expect me to forgive him. The woman angrily hung up the phone, and when I called back, it was a busy tone. I thought this couldn't be an illusion. After all, I had heard similar words countless times in the past 10 years. I woke up again a week later. The fracture in my arm had broken again, and this time, a total of 12 steel nails were inserted. The doctor said that I would have a permanent after effect. After leaving the hospital, I went home to pack my things. The wedding decorations were still there, and double happiness characters were pasted all over the house. It seemed that Mia hadn't been home these days, otherwise, how could she have let these things pollute her sight? During this time, I received a call from my mother. Julian, have you coaxed Mia? Has she forgiven you? Her tone was full of anxiety and expectation, but there was not a bit of concern for me. I told her that I wanted to divorce Mia. The voice on the phone paused, and then there were all kinds of scolding and crying. She told me not to act recklessly and to endure humiliation. I hung up the phone and covered my red eyes. Endure humiliation? Wasn't I humiliated enough? After gathering my thoughts, I went back to the company to work and submitted my resignation application. When I got off work, Mia showed up. After being together for 10 years, this was the first time she had waited for me. I turned around and was about to leave, but she blocked my way and stuffed me into the car. It's just a wedding. Is it necessary for you to make such a scene? Julian, you're no longer a young man in his 20s. Why are you still using divorce as a trick to seek favor? Mia took out a gift box from the storage cabinet and threw it to me. I opened it, and it was a pair of wedding rings. What's this? Mia was driving the car and said with full confidence, Henry didn't like the previous wedding rings, so he threw them away from me. He picked a new pair for you. Then she showed an expression of you've made a great deal. This pair of rings is much more expensive than the previous ones. Are you satisfied now? I sneered and threw the rings back. No need. You better give such precious things to Henry. I can't afford them. Mia's face instantly turned ugly. Julian, don't be ungrateful. If it weren't for the fact that I'm still pregnant with your child, how could you possibly be the son-in-law of the Mia family? Mia was right. This marriage was just a matter of charity and pity because of the child. Why should I hold on to this position and let others trample on my sincere feelings in vain? Holding back the churning emotions in my heart, I turned my head and said, just consider me ungrateful. When are you free? Let's go through the divorce formalities. Mia suddenly stepped on the brakes, and the car stopped abruptly. The tire screeched as they skidded across the ground. Julian, you were the one who groveled in front of my parents like a dog to please them and make them agree to your marrying into our family. Who are you pretending to be pitiful for now? In the past, if I saw her this angry, I would have already lowered my head and apologized. But now, I didn't have the slightest intention to defend myself. The atmosphere in the car was tense until Henry's call broke the silence. Mia, my head hurts so much. Can you come and accompany me? I took the initiative to say, let me off at the next intersection ahead. Mia was taken aback and looked at me in surprise. Aren't you angry? I shook my head and kept a calm expression. Of course, I would have been angry when I loved her before, but now that I don't love her anymore, I don't even have the energy to be angry. When the car stopped, I tried to get out but found the door was locked. Mia had a complicated look in her eyes and grabbed my hand. I'll go and take a look and come back. You wait here. I'll come back to pick you up. The pain made cold sweat break out on my forehead immediately. I pulled her hand away forcefully. No need. It's very convenient for me to take a taxi. Mia instinctively wanted to get up but then suddenly fell silent when she saw my pale face. It took a while for her to unlock the car door. The injury on your arm hasn't healed yet. Don't take a taxi. I'll come to pick you up. I shook my head and refused directly. It's not that it hasn't healed, it's completely useless. However, she wouldn't care about that. Mia couldn't stand my silence and questioned me. Julian, do you really have to be like this? I thought it was ridiculous. In her eyes, it seemed that I was the one who started the relationship and then abandoned her. When I got back to the hotel where I had been staying recently, I received a call from my father. He said that my mother had a conflict with someone in the mall and asked me to come and help immediately. I went downstairs and took a taxi right away. When I arrived, I found it was actually a bridal shop. Julian, why did you come so slowly? Mia has been waiting for you for a long time. My mother grabbed me and pulled me inside with a big smile on her face. I knew that I had been betrayed by my own parents once again. Mia, you're so magnanimous. You're willing to forgive Julian even though he made such a fuss. You really are worthy of being my daughter-in-law. My father fawned over Mia and poured water for her. Mia leaned comfortably on the sofa with a contemptuous and proud expression on her face. It's just a wedding. We can just hold another one. Just as I was about to speak, Henry came out of the fitting room wearing a groom suit with a look of happiness on his face. Mia, this dress is so beautiful. I like it so much. If you like it, then buy it. As long as it's something you like, I'll buy it for you. While speaking, Mia's eyes were always fixed on my face. I looked back at her calmly. Congratulations. You two are a perfect match. Not getting the expected reaction, Mia's face darkened. Julian, Henry is willing to let bygones be bygones and has decided to be your best man. Your parents have also agreed. Henry smiled and sat down beside Mia, looking very happy. Brother Julian, don't worry. I won't let Mia act recklessly again. My parents nodded repeatedly, seemingly very satisfied with what Henry said. I sneered and was about to speak when I was interrupted by Mia. You should apologize to the guests who come to the wedding and admit your mistake. Before I could refuse, my mother quickly agreed on my behalf. Of course, of course. The wound in my heart opened again, and I looked at my mother in disbelief. Mom, are you crazy? Am I your biological son or not? You want to let others humiliate me by stepping on my face? The smile on my mother's face froze instantly, and she slapped me without hesitation. Julian, do you think you're still a young man of 20? You're already 30. No one wants you anymore. Mia doesn't mind that you're old or useless and is willing to marry you. If you don't feel grateful, what are you going crazy for? If I had known you were such a good-for-nothing, I should have strangled you when you were born. Then she smiled apologetically at me. Mia, sorry, Mia. You must be laughing at us. It's all my fault. I didn't raise my son well. Please don't be angry with him. I'll make him apologize to you and Mr. Henry right away. My face was burning with pain, and I felt a despair I had never felt before. However, I didn't expect that Mia suddenly said coldly, Julian is my man and the father of my child. Who gave you the permission to hit him? My mother stood there in a daze, not expecting that she would be angry about this. Mia pushed Henry aside, ignoring his ugly expression, and asked me with a tone of concern, Are you okay? Does your arm hurt? I'll take you to the hospital. I sneered and looked at her with the eyes of looking at trash. Stop pretending to be kind. Isn't this exactly what you want? Stung by my gaze, Mia couldn't help but shout at me, "Julian, if it weren't for the fact that you got injured because of me, I wouldn't even bother to care about you. Don't be ungrateful. If you make me angry, do you believe that I can make your hand never heal?" I sneered and shook off her hand. "No need for you. My hand was already useless the day you and Henry fled the wedding." Mia's face changed drastically, with a look of shock and uncertainty. She was just about to say something when I had already thrown the hospital certificate to her. "Mia, listen carefully. I don't want you or this child anymore." When Mia looked up after reading the medical record for a moment, she showed a flustered expression. "What did you say?" Mia asked nervously. The corners of my mouth twitched slightly, and I looked at her contemptuously, just as she had looked at me before. "I want to divorce you." Mia's eyes widened, and her lips trembled. "No, it's impossible. You must be lying to me. This must be a trick for you to try to get me to divorce Julian. You don't even think about it." I looked straight into her eyes, not giving her the slightest chance to avoid my gaze. "Mia, you yourself said that neither I nor the child is as important as Henry. Have you forgotten?" After saying that, I forcefully pulled her hand and pressed it against her swollen belly. "Mia, I don't want this child anymore." Mia suddenly pulled her hand back, and her eyes were red. "It's impossible. It's impossible." My parents also reacted. My mother cried out, "You ungrateful wretch. This is your child. How can you not want it? I really shouldn't have given birth to you. I want my grandson." My father had a gloomy face and glared at me like an enemy. "You good for nothing, get out of my house. I don't have a son like you from now on." I touched my swollen face and replied, "That's just right. I don't have parents like you who would sacrifice their son for their own gain either." Before leaving, I walked up to Henry. "I tried on this suit before and wore it. I don't want it anymore." Henry gritted his teeth and looked at me with jealousy and hatred, but I ignored him. With a loud slamming of the door, Mia finally came to her senses and left with a dark face. Only my crying father and mother were left, still regretting that they had lost a son who could be the son-in-law of the Mia family. Sitting in the taxi, I couldn't hold back the tears in my eyes. Since I was a child, I have always been a very competitive person. When Mia left with Henry at the wedding, I held back my emotions. When Mia's mother publicly called me a good-for-nothing, I also held back. But today, when I saw my parents trying to sell me to Mia for the first time, I cried in front of others. The taxi driver looked at me worriedly through the rearview mirror. "Brother, are you okay?" I raised my hand to cover my eyes. My voice was hoarse. "It's okay. Just let me cry for a while." The driver handed me a pack of tissues from the front and comforted me while driving. "Brother, although I don't know what happened to you, I still want to say this: people will surely go through many setbacks, many disappointments, and many moments of despair in life. But no matter how disappointed or desperate you are, you have to believe that there will always be a way out in life." As he said this, a strong sense of vitality suddenly appeared on the driver's simple and honest face, making me forget to cry for a moment. I wiped away my tears and said in a loud voice, "Who said that?" The driver laughed heartily and said, "Sanu." I also smiled. "You're right. There will definitely be a way out in life." When I got back to the company, my resignation application had already been approved. "Julian, are you really planning to resign?" My boss knew my abilities and tried several times to persuade me to stay. "With your abilities, you will definitely be able to take my position within 2 years. It's really a pity if you leave just like this." I shook my head and refused. "I know you mean well for me, but if I continue to stay here, I won't see a future. This company belongs to Mia. She won't let me go so easily." Seeing that I was determined to leave, my boss just asked me to stay until the project in my hand was completed. She said that no matter what my future plans were after this project was completed, it could at least add a little more to my resume. I calculated that there was only a week left until the project was completed, so I agreed. In the past few years in the company, Mia had never given me any convenience at all, and no one knew my relationship with her. But my boss had always cared about me and supported me. She was a rare source of warmth. After I got together with Mia, in my heart, she was more like a teacher than a leader. Before leaving, I bowed to her seriously. "Amelia, thank you. Don't call me Amelia. Just call me Amelia from now on." Her eyes also turned red. Back at my workstation, I quickly went through the project materials from the beginning. During this time, because of the wedding matters, I had missed a lot of information. In the afternoon, Henry came. He was appointed as the new project team leader, and I was replaced. However, I didn't care much since I was going to leave anyway. It didn't matter whether I was the team leader or not. But he actually took away all the projects I was working on. Henry, this project has always been handled by Julian, and it's almost finished. At the meeting, Amelia smiled and tried to explain, wanting to help me get the project back. Henry didn't care at all, he just wanted to take away my things. Since it's almost finished, isn't it more convenient for me to take over? Anyway, Julian has been in the company for so many years. It's just a small project. He shouldn't care about it, right? Henry looked at me with a smile, his eyes full of malice. I twitched the corners of my mouth. A small project? If a project of cooperation with the government is called a small project, then 2/3 of the companies in the industry should go bankrupt. Henry, this project is very important to the company. If something goes wrong, the consequences will be serious. I calmly met Henry's gaze and explained the consequences. Amelia also smiled and tried to smooth things over. Yes, Henry, if you're interested, I have an even more important and outstanding project in my hand. How about I show it to you? I looked at her in shock, my eyes full of disapproval. Amelia's project was something she had been preparing since last year, and she had put in a great deal of effort. She had told me that as long as this project was successful, she could be promoted 2 levels, and she wouldn't have to worry about her retirement in the future. Now, she was willing to give it up for me. My eyes became hot, and I spoke up first. You can have the project. Take it if you want. Henry seemed to sense something, and his eyes darted between me and Amelia. I've changed my mind. I don't want your lousy project. I want the one in Amelia's hand. After saying that, I couldn't bear it anymore and stood up to call Mia. Did you send Henry to the company to cause trouble? If you want to take revenge on me, come at me directly. Why involve others? Mia, don't you feel disgusting? There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone, as if she was struck by my words. After a long time, she finally said, Henry is at the company. Julian, I didn't know about this. I'll come right away. The call ended, and Amelia stared at me in amazement. Julian, you and Mia. I pursed my lips and explained my relationship with her. Sorry, Amelia. I didn't tell you. Actually, Mia and I are husband and wife, but I'm going through the divorce procedures now. I pointed at Henry, whose face had changed drastically, and said in a brisk tone, Look, that's the reason for our divorce. Amelia opened her mouth, not knowing what she was thinking. Henry, on the other hand, had a very bad expression. Half an hour later, Mia arrived. Julian, what happened? Did you have a conflict with Henry? Entering the conference room, Mia asked me nervously, but she ignored Henry, who was standing aside. Seeing this, Henry's face turned pale. Mia, why did you come so late? I was almost bullied to death, he said and tried to hug her to seek comfort. For the first time, Mia dodged him and frowned as she asked, Why are you here? Her voice was no longer as gentle as before. Henry's eyes glistened with tears, and he began to complain. It's Mia's mother. She heard about Julian's situation and was afraid that his body couldn't withstand the pressure of work, so she specifically asked me to come and share some of the work for him. Hearing this, I couldn't help but sneer. When I first had the fracture, the doctor said that I couldn't overwork myself, otherwise, there might be sequela. I wanted to take a leave to recuperate, but Mia's mother said, the doctor just said there's a risk, not that it will definitely happen. Julian, you're being too sensitive, aren't you? Then she said that I was indeed a country bumpkin. Now that I knew I could become the son-in-law of the Mia family, I had taken off my disguise. She said that I was like a wild chicken flying into a phoenix's nest and couldn't hide my cheapness. Later, in order to prove that I truly loved Mia, I endured the discomfort and followed up on the project everywhere. That's how I got the opportunity to cooperate with the government. Now that my arm has healed, she actually uses my health as an excuse to take my project and give Henry some credit. Disgusting. Extremely disgusting. Thinking like this, I didn't hold back my words. Why didn't you come to share the work for me when I had a fracture? Now that the project is about to end, you want to take the credit. Mia's face looked ugly. She knew the importance of this project. Henry, stop fooling around, she also assured me. Julian, don't worry. No one can take this project away from you. Henry gritted his teeth so hard that it seemed his teeth would break. He could no longer maintain his expression. Fine, I won't compete with Julian. I just want the project in Amelia's hand. Mia, you won't even be unwilling to give that to me, will you? Sure enough, Mia didn't even think about it and agreed directly. Sure. Looking at Amelia, who didn't speak, Mia directly ordered in a condescending tone. Amelia, the project in your hand will be handed over to brother Henry to handle starting from today. No way, I directly objected. Amelia has been following this project since last year. Why should it be given to Henry? Seeing my objection, Mia was very surprised. This was probably the first time I had firmly opposed her for someone else's sake. Looking at my angry expression, Mia smiled ingratiatingly. Just as she was about to take back what she had said, Henry spoke up maliciously. Brother Julian, what's your relationship with Amelia? Why are you protecting her so much? I heard that when you first joined the company, it was Amelia who guided you, and you often went to social events together. Could it be that although he didn't finish his sentence, the meaning was very clear? Amelia's face turned red with anger, and she quickly explained. Henry, don't talk nonsense. I'm 20 years older than Julian. How could there be anything between us? Julian put on a pitiful look. Amelia, I was just joking. Don't be so hasty. Amelia, a little old lady in her late 40s, was so angry that she couldn't say a word. You've had enough. Mia's face darkened. It was obvious that she was provoked by Henrique's words. Julian, what's your relationship with Amelia exactly? I directly threw the documents in my hand at Mia's face. Mia, if you're crazy, go and get treated right away. Mia turned her head to dodge the documents but forgot about Henry, who was standing next to her. Ah, the hard-shelled folder directly scratched Henrique's face, leaving a bloodstain. My face, Mia. You must fire Amelia for me immediately and don't let her appear in the company again. The next second, an angry voice came from outside the door. Fire her? We're quitting. The door of the conference room was pushed open forcefully, and a dignified middle-aged man walked in. Amelia, let's go. Let's go home. Seeing him, Amelia immediately cried out, agreeably, Lucas. The man was Amelia's husband, but I had never seen him before. Understanding his identity, Henry pointed at me resentfully and said, You're Amelia's husband. See that this man here has had an ambiguous relationship with your wife for many years. Why don't you teach him a lesson right away? Mia's pupils shrank as if she had finally seen Henry's true colors. Henry, you. Henry didn't have the mood to pay attention to her. He was now filled with the panic that he was going to be disfigured. Just as I was about to explain, I heard the man sneer and directly expose his thoughts. Young lad, you may be young, but you have a malicious mind. I know what kind of person my wife is. It's not your place to spout nonsense here. After saying that, he smiled and looked at me. Julian, right? I often hear our Amelia mention you. Just call me Lucas. She said you're smart and capable and you're her most proud subordinate. These two simple sentences not only cleared the false accusation Henry made against me but also showed his closeness to me. Mia looked at me with guilt. Julian, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. Henry still wouldn't give up. Seeing Mia apologize made him even angrier, and he started speaking without thinking. Don't be fooled by the two of them. Julian has always been a gigolo. He must have an affair with Amelia. Julian, say it quickly. Admit that you're a shameless gigolo. Mia couldn't bear it anymore and slapped Henry across the face. Enough, Henry. If you keep talking nonsense and spreading rumors about Julian, don't blame me for being unkind to you. Everyone was shocked by her slap. Henry looked at Mia in horror, as if he couldn't believe that she would hit him for my sake. Mia took a deep breath, and the hot-tempered Mia finally lowered her proud head. Julian, I'm sorry. Henry will definitely not bother you again in the future. She turned around and gave him a sinister glare. Aren't you leaving yet? Henry was angry but dared not speak out and followed her out. As soon as they left, Amelia led us back to the office. On the desk, I immediately saw the lunchbox that was still warm. The man explained. I'm on leave today, so I came to bring Amelia her meal. I didn't expect that as soon as I arrived at the office, someone said you were having an argument, so I went to take a look. I didn't expect to actually witness a good show. I lowered my head, feeling a bit guilty. I'm sorry. It's all because of me that Amelia got involved. Amelia waved her hand, not minding. She asked me worriedly, Julian, are you okay? Why didn't you tell us about your relationship with Mia earlier? All right, don't worry about the project anymore. I'll handle your resignation for you. My eyes became hot, and I couldn't help but shed tears. Amelia, thank you. Lucas patted me on the shoulder. What's wrong, son? If you have any grievances, tell Lucas. You're Amelia, and I will definitely help you. Listening to their words of concern, I felt the warmth of home. With a choked voice, I told them about the wedding. That's too much, Amelia slapped the table and shouted, even angrier than when she was slandered by Henry just now. What kind of person is Mia? Resign. You must resign. I'll leave with you. What a lousy company this is. I'm not staying here anymore. Lucas hugged Amelia and tried to calm her down. Julian, where are you living now? I sighed. I'm staying in a hotel. After I resign, I might rent an apartment. Amelia looked at me with pity and said, if you don't mind, you can stay at our place. Lucas and I only have one daughter, and she doesn't live at home. There's just an empty room available. I was taken aback for a moment. Just as I was about to refuse, I heard Lucas say, that's right, Julian. You should live with us. Actually, your Amelia has always regarded you as her son. Looking at their sincere attitude and thinking of my parents who forced me to apologize to Mia, I nodded with red eyes. Okay. After moving to Amelia's house, I learned that Lucas was actually a public official, specifically in charge of engineering management. No wonder I hadn't seen him for all these years, he really couldn't spare the time. Even this time, it was because he hadn't taken a vacation for a long time that he had the opportunity to bring the meal. At the dinner table, Amelia said that she had already applied for resignation. With that brat Henry around, the company will sooner or later become a mess. I might as well retire early and enjoy my retirement life. Anyway, I still have you, Lucas, and there's definitely enough money for our retirement. Lucas shook his head helplessly, as if he was already used to his wife's spontaneity. I also resigned because of my previous injury. Lucas suggested that I not rush to find a job and that it was most important to take care of my health. It could be seen as a time to sort out my feelings. Knowing that they had good intentions, I naturally nodded in agreement. At Amelia's house, I experienced the warmth of a family that I had never felt before. Half a year passed, and Mia agreed to the divorce. I heard that Mia's mother threatened to commit suicide to force her to marry Henry. She agreed, but she had already seen Henry's true nature and was unwilling to have close contact with him. Henry couldn't stand Mia's cold violence and caused trouble in Mia's house every day. The two of them had completely become bitter enemies. Mia's family business also suffered a heavy blow. Lucas said that he had carried out a strict inspection of the companies under Mia's family name. Many illegal activities that hadn't been discovered before were found, and many projects of the company were forced to be suspended. The losses were huge. When he said this, Lucas was drinking with me, and his face was calm. I knew that he had deliberately told me this. There was one more thing. I blocked my parents on the Mid-Autumn Festival a month ago. I recognized Lucas and Amelia as my godfather and godmother. I officially became Lucas and Amelia's son. The taxi driver was right, people will surely go through many setbacks, many disappointments, and many moments of despair in life. But no matter how disappointed or desperate you are, you have to believe there will always be a way out in life.